Welcome to the Emisarios Unidos de Luz channel. If you enjoy this near-death experience story, consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. Now let's start with the story. My NDE happened at the age of 13. Grieving the loss of a loved one, I would lay in bed at night crying myself to sleep. After crying myself to sleep one night, I awoke due to an intense pain that I was feeling in my chest. I got out of bed, but as soon as I stood up, I collapsed as I lost consciousness. Suddenly, I was awake again and hovering above my body. As I looked down on my insensible form, I remember regarding it the same way I regarded a piece of old and worn-out clothing. As I looked around the room, I saw a tunnel that appeared in the space above the bedroom door. I cannot say whether I was drawn into the tunnel or whether I moved towards it of my own volition. However, not a moment had passed before I found myself traveling through the tunnel at an ever-increasing velocity. As I traveled, I noticed other tunnels branching off or merging with the one I was in, and from those tunnels, glowing orbs of light would emerge to travel alongside me. While traveling through the tunnel, my consciousness broke through barriers of mental limitation, making the comprehension of advanced mathematics and high-level sciences accessible to my understanding. In that state of heightened awareness, I realized that the light was the source of origin of the soul essence I remembered as my true self, and in identifying as such, the feelings of hurt, anger, jealousy, and animosity I once felt were replaced with feelings of the most profound and unfettered love. As I entered into the light's proximity, I became so filled with the pure and boundless love that I eventually merged with the source of all creation, and in that experience of oneness with it, I realized that the light is the reality intrinsic to every aspect of creation. I realized that the light is the boundless and eternal continuum that created the temporal, the source of space, time, and creation itself, and that our sense of the passing of moments is an illusion we experience while living life through a human body. As the eons passed in that realm beyond time, I found myself suddenly alone again, in an expanse of the purest and brightest white. Alone with my thoughts in that realm beyond time, I longed to return to the light's presence, to merge with it and remain forever enshrouded in the purity and beauty of the boundless love it represented. With nothing to do in the zone of white, I occupied myself with equations that calculated everything under the sun until a 9-foot-tall angel, adorned in a white gown, appeared before me. "You again?" the angel asked as he smiled broadly at me. "What do you mean, me again?" I asked, flummoxed by his question. "You were here once before, and back then you chose to return to Earth," he replied. Despite being able to recall events before my birth on Earth and during my out-of-body experience, I couldn't remember ever having been in the expanse of white on a previous occasion. "You chose to forget that you were here when you decided to return to Earth," the angel further explained, sensing my confusion. "If I was here before, why did I choose to go back?" I asked. "Souls bound for Earth are forced to forget being here because Earth is the hardest of all the universes and dimensions. Remembering a heavenly place or experience might cause them to long for it, risking neglect of their earthly mission altogether. If a soul, however, after leaving their body, chooses to return to Earth because they didn't accomplish what they intended during their first sojourn, they can choose either to remember or forget this place when they reunite with their body," he explained. "That is interesting to know, yet you haven't yet answered the question of why I chose to return to Earth," I said. "You alone decide, exercising your free will. I cannot tell you why you chose to return to Earth, I can only tell you that it was your choice each time, as no one is ever forced to go. Do you plan to return again?" he asked. "How can I choose when I don't even know why I went in the first place, let alone why I would have chosen to return to Earth a second time?" I replied. It was then that the angel produced the contract that I signed, which stated what my goals were while on Earth. In reviewing the contract, I realized that I had failed to complete the tasks that the contract declared that I would complete while on Earth. Holding that document brought back the memory of the moment I asked to return to Earth. I remembered choosing to forget about life on the other side because I felt it would be easier to accomplish the tasks I had set for myself if I didn't remember my true home. The only way I can describe what compels a soul to request to visit Earth is to compare it to the impetus that drives a person to join the military, despite knowing there's a high likelihood of fighting in wars for their country. While that person might not truly want to go to war, for many, it is a badge of honor to fight for their country, just as it is a badge of honor for the soul that accomplishes its appointed mission on Earth. Anyone can join the military, but only a select few can claim to have succeeded in their mission, and even fewer can do so in the toughest place in the universe. Realizing that fact made me instantly want to return to Earth to try again, but this time, I would choose to remember my true home. Reunited with my body once again, I couldn't remember all the details of what I had learned about the history and science of the universe. However, it is enough for me to remember having experienced the light, to know that it exists, and to know that I am part of it. One never realizes how confining the physical body is until they spend time outside of it during an experience like an NDE, and confined is exactly how I felt upon my return. Although my chest pains were gone, I longed to be with the light, and my longing plunged me into a depression unlike any I had experienced before. As time went on, however, the NDE seemed increasingly less real to me, and months later, I wondered if it might have been just a vivid dream. The people to whom I recounted my NDE were dismissive, suggesting it was either a dream or a hallucination. However, it was a friend of mine who was the first to suggest that my experience may indeed have been an NDE. I am now convinced that what I experienced was real, and knowing that my experience of the light of divine love brings me a lot of comfort. It also comforts me to know that my deceased relatives have moved on to such a wonderful place and that such a heavenly realm awaits us all. I do wish I had experienced a life review on the other side, as it might have motivated me to complete the tasks I have set for myself here on Earth. I do, however, vaguely remember the mission I gave myself here, the details of which I will keep to myself, as they are very personal.